Good afternoon. For years, Americans have been infatuated with college sports, spearheaded by the NCAA. From its founding in 1910, the non-profit association has blossomed into regulating just shy of 500,000 student athletes. Their mission seems clear: devoted to the well-being and lifelong success of the college athlete. Yet upon our findings that the industry brought in $14 billion last year alone, zero of which was apportioned to the student athlete, we question the motives of the NCAA. Thus leading us to ask the question, should college athletes be paid?
By way of our research, we have concluded that college athletes should be paid. Specifically, they should be paid for a two-part solution. Firstly, a cost of attendance stipend focused on leveling the playing field for financially challenged students. Secondly, an annuity focused on performance-based compensation. These 2 points address the social injustices present, as well as offer fair benefit for work.
The cost of attendance stipend is currently operating in only 65 of the 1,000 schools under the NCAA. The COA is an annual financial benefit of about $2,000 to $4,000, depending on a student's cost of living at school, their proximity to home, and their educational pursuits. COA is overseen via federal guidelines by the financial advisors on campus. It cannot be revoked by a staff member, but in order to qualify, a student must already have a full scholarship. But the people who would benefit the most from this stipend are excluded because of that criteria. Let's say, for example, student A comes from a low-income family in Oregon. She's been awarded a partial scholarship to run track at Clemson University. She is 3,000 miles away from home and is financially challenged, and she does not qualify for the current COA. Student B, on the other hand, comes from a middle-class family in Texas, and he gets a full scholarship to run track at Clemson. He's only 1,000 miles from home and financially comfortable and capable, but he does get the COA. The current COA criteria requiring full scholarships excludes those who would truly benefit from financial aid.
We thus plan to operate under FAFSA. We propose a cost of attendance stipend that is universal, addressing all the 1,117 schools that the NCAA does regulate. Further, we argue that COA eligibility is met through FAFSA federal student aid standards, thus ensuring that students do not need full scholarships to qualify. Colleges would use information through FAFSA to determine if an athlete does meet COA. The FAFSA grants an average of $600 a year, while the maximum is $4,000 a year. These statistics show that our proposed eligibility requirements and grants for COA do not unfairly favor student athletes, thus leveling the playing field.
However, while the COA may level the economic playing field, the stipend cannot stand alone. It serves only to address the social injustices facing people struggling to make ends meet. A method to pay players for their work, as just a form of compensation, could never be achieved through an annuity held in trust for the student until after they graduate. The annuity is the fund that allows students to access payment upon graduation. The money would be the result of 3.5% of ticket sales distributed evenly among the athletes. We see the value of education, which the NCAA continually stresses through their Student Before Athlete campaign. The ability to access wealth after graduation calls on students to remain focused in their work, in their studies, while still being compensated fairly for their work in athletics.
As you can see here, the COA brings students struggling to make ends meet up to zero, which represents a college student who does not have immediate financial needs as determined by the FAFSA COA standard. From that line, the annuity provides performance-based compensation regardless of the student's financial backing. This represents our annuity and Cost of Attendance Equity Act, ACE.
Legal action is necessary to preserve student-athlete rights. Without national legislation, our plan will not be carried out to its full potential. Past cases of similar gravity, yet followed through on the state level, are not passed to their intended form. For example, the 2019 case Alston versus NCAA regarding amateurism and athlete compensation. The court noted that athlete compensation was insufficient by way of disparities between the industry, the coaches, and the athletes, and thus the NCAA was in violation of antitrust laws. Their final ruling, however, allows for colleges to offer additions to a full scholarship. However, these additions must be educationally related and cannot be offered in the form of direct money. Though the intent and evidence was there to suggest that the NCAA's current regulation regarding the payment of college athletes is unconstitutional, the court's final ruling was weak in comparison, thus emphasizing the need for national legislation.
California Senate Bill 206, also known as the Fair Pay to Play Act, is not a viable solution to the problem. Firstly, it was proposed on the state level, which does not provide a sufficient amount of legal pressure. Secondly, it addresses compensation for name, image, and likeness, but does not address performance-based compensation, which we address through our annuity. Lastly, it does not specify how and when the students will gain access to the revenue from their NIL. U.S. Representative Mark Walker proposed a bill called the Student Athlete Equity Act. This is also not a viable solution to the problem. Although it is national legislation was passed through Congress, it does not pose a method for students to gain money off of their performance. Also, it does not provide a method for students to access that money. Recently, the NCAA proposed a change in their policy and are thinking about allowing students to gain money off of their name, image, and likeness. Although this also is not a viable solution to the problem. The NCAA never specified how or when they will change their policies, and it is not a guarantee that they ever will. Also, it only addresses compensation for name, image, and likeness and not performance. We understand that money is a powerful thing, and students may seek to exploit this new regulation that we are proposing in order to gain wealth off of ticket sales, endorsements, and cost of attendance stipend. Although with the NCAA's current regulation, the red shirt policy, student athletes will not be able to exploit this new regulation due to the fact that they have a limited number of seasons of eligibility.
Furthermore, academic students may suggest that their work input should too equate to payment. A survey taken of 21,000 NCAA football players demonstrated that the average amount of time allotted to training each week was approximately 44.8 hours, where academic times remained excluded. This statistic suggests that the student athlete must balance a rigorous training regimen as well as an academic schedule, whereas the normal student only has to contend with the academic portion. Moreover, the student athlete directly contributes to the success of an industry and the wealth through viewing rates and fan bases.
With these implications in mind, our solution still comes with limitations. Our COA, which eliminates the requirement for a full scholarship, opens the door for financially troubled students to get the help that they need. However, it didn't eliminate student loan debts or high tuition rates, but it is the first step towards alleviating economic pressure.
We also understand that ACE is radical and may take time to implement. However, anything worth having takes time. We are in need of a solution, regardless of the time it takes to implement. For far too long, the NCAA has exploited the student athlete who works hard and should be compensated fairly. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll begin our oral defense now. James, what was the strongest counter-argument to the solution or conclusion your team identified, and why?
The strongest counter-argument to our team's solution was the NCAA's argument of education and how paying college athletes might hinder a student's ability to have a proper education. And their main stance is that students in college should mainly focus on their education and their studies, and that if student athletes gain the ability to gain that revenue off of name, image, and likeness, or performance, or ticket sales, then that would keep them from a quality education, and it would not allow them to actually have the full experience of college and what college is truly meant for. And that if student athletes were paid, then it would take away the main purpose of college.
Perfect, thank you. Layla, what is an example of a compelling argument from one of your peers' individual reports that you decided to exclude from your team presentation, and why?
An argument that we chose to exclude from one of our team members into our presentation was Arya's perspective on the equality of women and their payment. We chose to exclude it from our argument because, in a way, the equality shown cannot be met without monetary compensation or wage. We chose to leave it out of the presentation because our presentation is striving for an input of the wage. And when the wage is input, if it is inputted, this equality of women can be met and can be carried out.
Thank you. Perfect. Arya, having finished your project, what, if anything, do you consider to be a gap in your team's research that, if addressed, would make you feel more confident about your conclusion?
One gap within our solution is that we didn't have enough information about ticket sales and those kinds of numbers to really strengthen our argument, to give numbers to our annuity mainly. And we did think about it before, it's just not something that translated well into the IRRs and then into the TMP. And it's one of the only things that we wish we would have included.
Great. Thank you. Charlotte, give one specific way that your thinking changed as a result of learning about Layla's findings.
So my original stance on the issue was, yes, college athletes should be paid. There's obviously a need for performance-based compensation. However, I didn't think about the ethical implications of this issue, specifically regarding education, which she talks about through her IRR. We see that if we were just to offer college athletes payment, we would place the academic institution in jeopardy. The goal of attending a university should be a degree, and even though these students are high-performing athletes and there is a big discrepancy and they should definitely be compensated, it's obvious that we cannot offer them money straight away because it will detract from the time they spend in their studies. This was specifically translated in our annuity and our idea to provide the money post-graduation to ensure that students are focused on their task at hand, which is earning a degree, and then receive the money post-graduation.
Great, thank you. And finally, Austin, reflecting on your colleagues' work, which one had the greatest impact on your overall understanding of the problem your group identified?
So I was new to this topic. I needed to learn more on the importance of sports in college, and James's research really helped me understand that because he was researching past and present legislation such as the California's Fair Pay to Play Act, the Student Athlete Equity Act, and New York's Collegiate Act. And all of those really helped shape my overall understanding of this new topic. So James's was the most beneficial for me in that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right.